All right, Brainless top 10.
And it kind of goes back to with the whole Jade Cargill thing about her signing with WWE. And now there's a lot of talk of a lot of people from from both companies talking about being, hopping over. Is Drew McIntyre going to go to AEW? Is Seth Rollins going to go to AEW? And so forth and so on. But it got me thinking. They have presented Cody Rhodes in a way that he is now the top babyface in WWE. I love LA Knight, but if you think that LA Knight is a bigger face than Cody Rhodes, you are wrong. Just like the guy who was trying to go after me yesterday on Twitter.
Yeah?
LA Knight is number 1 on SmackDown. Let me talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah. SmackDown is the number 1 show, by the way.
And I think it's great. I think Brian Pillman's going to flourish. I don't think he's going to be, he's not going to main event WrestleManias, but he's going to be a key cog and is a future Intercontinental Champion.
With the mullet that he has, can you foresee possibly, with the mulleted locks, him taking down Roman Reigns one day as the person with the wettest hair in WWE or in professional wrestling for that matter?
As KJ once said after winning the 2008 NBA Finals, anything is possible. Okay. I mean, that's just as possible as it is that Steve Austin's going to break into his house and Brian Pillman Jr. is going to be the one that pulls the gun. Monday Night Raw in the 90s was on a whole different level. That's why I love, as much as I love wrestling to this day, nothing will have me loving wrestling more than mid to late 90s Monday Night Raws. But with the way that they presented Cody and how they've already presented Jade Cargill, it got me to think, who are some people I'd like to see make the jump from AEW to WWE? Is there people that I would like to see make the return to WWE from AEW? I have excluded people like Orange Cassidy from this list because, yes, as much as I would love to see Orange Cassidy be the one that actually dethrones Roman Reigns and he finishes Cody's story for him, I know for a fact that Orange Cassidy is not going to get booked the same way he does in AEW. The same thing with the Danhausen. So I have excluded them from this list, but I did compile the top 10 people I'd like to see make the jump from AEW to WWE. Number 10. Speaking of people who hold a very special place in my heart, I would love to see Mark Henry come back. I have, when I was watching AEW, enjoyed him in the backstage role that he has been doing with AEW. He's fantastic. He's got a great personality for it. I miss Mark Henry in WWE. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. So he's number 10 on my list.
Okay.
Number 9, Jamie Hayter. I think that she would be somebody like Jade Cargill who can make an impact in the WWE Women's Division. Number 8, this is a 2-for-1. If there was a tag team, and I'm excluding FTR because they just re-signed. I know that they just re-signed as well, but I think the Ass Boys would definitely benefit if they worked in WWE. Their dad, as much as he is a big name in AEW, was a bigger deal in WWE, and I think that the Gun Club would be a very, very popular and successful tag team in WWE. Although I do like having them in the Bullet Club Gold. Them with Jay White and Juice Robinson was fantastic.
Yeah.
Number 7, my favorite AEW women's wrestler, Chris Statlander. I think she's another one that she would definitely benefit if she made the jump. I don't see her necessarily doing it. She's got a lot of friends over at AEW, but she's somebody I would love to see in WWE from AEW.
Okay.
Number 6, I would love to see the return of Miro. I miss Rusev Day. That's all I'm going to say. It was one of my favorite things. I had the shirt and everything. I miss Rusev Day.
Vince McMahon ruined a perfect opportunity. I think it was SummerSlam in Boston, Massachusetts. The roof would have been blown off the place if he and Aiden English had won the tag team titles that night. But they never pulled the damn trigger.
The garden would have melted, dude.
Yeah. Seriously. It would have been not quite to the level of Kane tombstoning Pete Rose.
No. That's still one of my favorite moments in Boston. After 2004, 7, 13, and 18, and
Yeah.
yeah. And to add on to this, if Miro Rusev did return to WWE, I would be elated. I don't know what that means. Number 5, another guy that I think, because you know me, I love big meaty men who slap the shit out of each other. Willie Hobbs. I think he would definitely benefit if he were to go to WWE. And I would be a huge fan of his if he went there.
Yeah.
Speaking of other big meaty men that like to slap the shit out of each other, number 4, Wardlow.
Yeah.
And if anybody really could use a change of scenery in the professional wrestling industry, it is him. Tony Khan doesn't know what the hell he's doing with him, just like Tony Khan doesn't know what he's doing with the women's division outside of Tony Storm.
Quite honestly, and I think this name is going to be on your list. I want him and MJF to go together.
Okay. Number 3, Ricky Starks. I think that if at the end of the day, when somebody's contract does end with AEW and they were to make the jump from WWE, and I had to put money on it, it's Ricky Starks. When Regal
he has to join his sister Zoe.
Yes. And I remember when William Regal, when he was talking about how he made the jump from, when he got released from WWE, he had 3 guys that he had with him that he was going to bring in. Ricky Starks, Wheeler Yuta, and Daniel Garcia. I have seen enough from Wheeler Yuta to know that he is nothing more than your younger brother that your mother forces you to take with you to hang out with your friends no matter what you do. And Daniel Garcia is a dancing dweeb that I never want to see in a wrestling ring, at the same breath that I say about the Young Bucks. Ricky Starks, under the WWE umbrella, would be gold. He would be a slam dunk. I think that he would flourish in WWE. He's got the look. He's got the charisma. He's got the talking ability. He's got the ring ability. He's got all the pieces. He might be a little smaller.
Right.
But man, he's got everything else. And I think that he would absolutely be a stud in WWE.
All right, a couple of things in the comment section. I started laughing because I read Tim's comment. They needed to let Miro beat Cena at WrestleMania after he had sex in the tank with Lana. I don't disagree. And I would love to see the tank come back at some point. Mike Rainey saying, "Where in the world is Wardlow? It's a crime that they're not using him." I believe he and Wardlow and Waldo are in the same spot.
Oh, they're wearing red and white striped hats and they're hidden somewhere in the picture, but you have an easier time finding Waldo in the picture than you do of Wardlow in the locker room.
Perhaps he is just standing next to Chris Hero in catering.
That's like a lunar eclipse, though.
Oh, no.
Hey, we need more sandwiches. Chris, you've had enough heroes. No, you're a hero, pal.
Yep.
Number 2, the one person in AEW that I really wish had never left WWE, so he's definitely number 2 on my list, Malachi Black. I will never forgive. I'm not happy that they let Swerve go. I'm not happy that they let FTR go. I'm still kind of baffled that they let Elias go. I'm very, very upset about that. But of all the people that they released, Aleister Black still is the one that stings the most, and I'm still pissed about. And I shouldn't be. But it was a stupid way to do it. I still do all these things, and this is coming from somebody called the Brainless One, and that's definitely more brainless than anything I've ever done. Aleister Black needs to come back to WWE.
His wife's there.
Yeah.
She seems to actually be enjoying her time there. Now that Vince isn't doing all things creative.
Yes. So, Cousin Jay, I gave you 2 through 10. If you had to Take a guess who number one is. Who do you think it is?
Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
QT Marshall. Just kidding. Maxwell Jacob Friedman. MJF. Do you want to talk about the total package? And I'm not talking about Lex Luger. It's MJF. He's got the look. What was it that somebody said it? He's got the look like Triple H. He talks like Roddy Piper. And he's got the presentation and the in-ring ability of like Shawn Michaels. He's a combination.
That might be overselling his in-ring ability. Like, I think he's really good. I don't think he's Shawn Michaels.
No, I don't think anybody's Shawn Michaels.
Not at this moment. But he is a really good in-ring performer. I mean, the Iron Man match that he had with Daniel Bryanson. You know, the basically every match he's had since he's been the champion has been stellar. And even storyline-wise, I'm glad they finally got out of that mode of you have to go through 5 people of his choosing before you get a shot at him. I'm glad they've gotten out of that. I enjoyed what they did with him and Adam Cole, baby, to set that up so Adam Cole would get his rematch. And, like, you know, they hugged it out, and they're still partners, they're still allies, and we'll see where this devil storyline goes.
Y'all will. I won't, because I'm not watching that crap. I refuse. I have not watched AEW on Wednesdays. The wife has even said, "Oh, it's 8:00 on a Wednesday. You know what that means?" I said, "Yep, we're gonna go watch something else."
Mike Rainey. We were talking about guys who are lifers. He says, I don't see MJF leaving redacted. I think he's a guy that the company wants to build around. You know, if MJF wants to build like this ginormous legacy, I mean, you could certainly do it by being in AEW. And I just don't foresee at the moment AEW surpassing WWE. So if you want to be considered somebody on the Mount Rushmore, and I do believe MJF wants to be up on Rushmore, he has to go to WWE at some point, and he has to main event WrestleMania.
He did an interview a while back, and he talked about what I think it was right before All In happened. How he called and reached out to Cody Rhodes and said, "Cody Rhodes, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this." He goes, "I was a nobody." It was Cody Rhodes that gave MJF his biggest opportunity to that date, when he let him wrestle in All In, and he lost MJF, and then he went to AEW. Cody Rhodes is a bigger reason for MJF being in AEW than Kenny and the Bucks are. And obviously, I'm not going to count Tony Khan, because obviously Tony Khan's got to pay him. So
right.
Without Tony Khan, there is no AEW.
Right.
But I think that the whole connection, just like with Ricky Starks, I think the connection that they have with Cody Rhodes, especially the way that they're presenting Cody Rhodes. And now you have The Undertaker coming out, and they're like, "Oh, Undertaker, you work with anybody now? Who would it be?" He goes, "I'd like to work with that MJF, man. He's the total package and all that stuff." That's high praise from the godfather of professional wrestling.
Right.
That's like Michael Jordan giving you kudos if you're a basketball player.
Sure.
That's the fucking Undertaker. That's the GOAT. That is the second greatest wrestling gimmick of all time. Giving high praise to MJF. Obviously, if the Monsoon of Gorillas was still alive, he would also be giving praise to MJF, but
yes,
that's a big deal. And I don't think people, like, especially the fans of AEW, I don't think they realize that no matter what they do, no matter what they say, no matter how hard they try, WrestleMania is still the Mecca. It is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling, and there's nothing that they or the Bucks or Tony Khan can do to change that. Does anybody even know what the biggest show is for AEW?
Paul White.
What is I see what you did there. But what is their Super Bowl?
I mean, they just sold out Wembley Stadium. I think legit paid attendance. We found out it was 71,000. That's a big deal.
Yes, especially if you're
I
Will
believe
Ospreay.
All In. I believe they perceive All In as their biggest show.
It probably is. It could be Double or Nothing because they've done more Double or Nothings than any other pay-per-view. But it's not WrestleMania. You could take all of AEW's pay-per-views, whether it's 4 or if it's down the road when they do 37 in a month. None of them are
Even
WrestleMania.
when WCW had Starrcade, and Starrcade was the first pay-per-view
Yes.
ever. Starrcade was never to the same level that WrestleMania was.
Because and honestly, like whatever their big show is, comparing that to Starrcade, I would say 100%. That's what it is. AEW's biggest show of the year is Starrcade, and WWE has WrestleMania. Because Starrcade is a great show to showcase professional wrestling, like what AEW is allegedly trying to do, where WrestleMania is the show of shows because it's not just about the wrestling, it's about all of the presentation that is involved with WWE. Because you get all the entertainers, because you get Cyndi Lauper and Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather and Lawrence Taylor and the Snooki and Bad Bunny, and you get all these celebrities to show up and make it a bigger deal. AEW doesn't have that. AEW also doesn't have the star power that WWE has. And MJF knows that. Because MJF knows that if he goes to WWE, on a given night, he could be out there cutting a promo, and The Undertaker could show up and interrupt him. The Rock could show up and interrupt him. Steve Austin could interrupt and show up and interrupt him. Who's going to do that? Who's going to do that in AEW?
They got Sting.
They got Sting, and believe me, I love Sting. But at the end of the day, Sting is not The Rock. Sting is not Steve Austin. Sting is not Hulk Hogan.
Brother.
That's about and Sting's not The Undertaker. That's about it. That's the extent of it. Those are the only names that are bigger than Sting in my book. I would say Ric Flair, but everybody knows that Ric Flair could be had for the right price.
Right.
Nobody just wants to touch that crusty old bastard.
Come on, he's got one last match in him again.
Please no.
That he might fall asleep during. I think it's because he didn't get to put the pacemaker back in at that moment. But
yeah.